In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace the thermostat housing on this Buick Enclave. Let's get into it. Pull the engine cover off, take the cap off, pull up on the cover, and just put the cap back on just so nothing falls in there. Take this cover off, just use a trim tool, take the push pins out. Slide that off. We're going to remove this hose. There's a little button right here. Just push that in. It slides up and out. Or remove the snorkel. Use an 8mm socket. Loosen up the worm clamps. Right there. Right there. Just grab it off the throttle body. Twist it. Slide it out. Disconnect the mass airflow sensor connector. There's a little lock tab here. Slide that back. Push down. Slide it off. Now we're going to remove the air box. You have some screws all around the perimeter of the air box. We're going to use a T25 socket. Loosen up those screws. Grab the air box, slide it up and out of the way. Remove this cover, use a 10mm socket. Take this bolt out. Slide it up, out of the way. We're going to remove this coolant hose right here, and we're going to lose some coolant, so make sure you have a drain bucket underneath. There's no drain on the radiator for this, so you're going to just get the coolant out here. Just using some hose clamp pliers. Just slide it off the hose if possible. Just twist the hose, pull the hose back. And you want to make sure the engine's cold when you're doing this, because otherwise you're going to have pressure in there. So there we go. And just pull it back slowly, let it drain into the bucket. And pop these heater hoses off. You're just going to push on the clips, push the clips in. You should be able to squeeze right here to disconnect the connector. Sometimes they stick a little bit, so if you take a pick, just get underneath here, just pop the connector out a different way. There you go. But you should just be able to squeeze it and it slides out. This one didn't come out that way. And on the back hose, squeeze that. It slides up like that. We're going to take these 3 bolts out. Use a 10mm socket. You can take the top 2 out with this. You might have to use a ratchet wrench for the bottom one. And that bolt's just going to stay with the housing. And on the tube, there's a bolt holding the bracket on. Loosen that up. I'm using a 15mm ratchet wrench. Then you're going to lose some coolant over at the engine. So. Pull that out. Grab the thermostat housing. And it slides right out. I take this hose clamp off. I'm just going to use some hose clamp pliers. I'll just transfer that over to the new one. I'll just take the hose clamp, put it over the new one, just like that. And take the gasket off. You can just use a razor blade or a scraper. Just scrape any excess gasket material. Take the gasket, line that up, put the bolts in. It's a longer bolt, it goes right there. slightly shorter bolts go there and there. And slide down in position. Get the bolts started. Take that bolt, get that lined up. And tighten that down. And we'll torque these to 89 inch-pounds. This bottom one's a little tricky to get a torque wrench into. Do the best you can. Now take the hose clamp. I'll just use the hose clamp pliers. Slide it over the pipe first. Slide the hose over the pipe. And then we'll slide the hose clamp back over the hose. And that's secure. Now connect the hoses, line those up, lock those down. Same with this one. Those are locked in place. Take this cover and slide it in place. Put the bolt in. Tighten that down. And put the top air box cover on. Line that up. Make sure you don't pinch these hoses over here. Get the screws started. And we'll tighten those down. Connect the connector, push the lock tab down, take the snorkel, slide that in place. I'm going to add this tube, lock that down, and then make sure it's in the right position on the valve cover. That's good. Tighten these down. Those are snug. Now put the engine cover on. Take the cap off for the oil fill. Push that down. Put the cap back on. Take the radiator cap off. I'm going to use a funnel. I'm going to pour the correct coolant in. You want a 50-50 mix. That's full. Take the radiator cap, put that back on. And you want to top off the reservoir. Not all the way to the top, there is a full line. And close that up. Then we're going to run the car for about 15-20 minutes, let it warm up, constantly monitoring it, making sure it's not overheating. Shut it down, let it cool, and then you can adjust the levels accordingly. I'll slide this cover in place. Take the push pins and push those in place.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.